how do you go from, pouring drinks in a Texas bar to literally starring alongside Lady Gaga and Beyonce in one of the biggest music videos of the decade?
I mean, it is a trajectory that breaks, like, almost every conventional rule of media.
Mhm.
Usually there is this impenetrable firewall between mainstream pop culture and the adult entertainment industry. To cross that line requires a level of brand engineering that goes way beyond just, showing up and performing on camera.
Exactly. And that is exactly what we are getting into today. Welcome to the Deep Dive, everybody. Today we are looking at the career of Alektra Blue, who was born Sasha Clifford and sometimes went by Sasha Blue.
Yeah, and the mission for this deep dive, just to be clear right up front, isn't to get caught up in the sensationalism of her field.
No, not at all.
If you look at her timeline purely from a business perspective, her career is basically a masterclass in personal branding, navigating really high-stakes studio contracts, and surviving this incredibly volatile digital landscape.
Yeah, we are talking about someone who had to build a fiercely protective business model entirely from scratch. And I want you, the listener, to just imagine this for a second. Imagine moving to a completely new city to start a career in an industry you know literally nothing about.
Right.
You are relying purely on a friend's recommendation.
Yeah.
And you have to build your entire personal brand from zero.
And from scratch is definitely the operative phrase here, because to understand the mechanics of her success, you have to look at the baseline she started from, you know?
The early days.
Yeah, before the aliases and the massive industry awards, she was living this very, I guess you'd call it standard Americana life. She was born on June 9, 1983, in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area of Arizona, but she was raised primarily around Dallas, Texas.
And the sources emphasize her athletic background pretty heavily, actually.
Oh, massively.
Yeah, she was deeply involved in volleyball, soccer, track, cheerleading. And at the time, her work life was completely ordinary. She was, pulling shifts as a fitness center receptionist and doing some bartending.
Which is funny, but that athletic foundation is actually a crucial piece of the puzzle.
How so?
Well, in any performance-based career, but specifically in the production of mature films, stamina is basically the unspoken currency.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
People outside the industry rarely consider the grueling reality of, like, a 14-hour day on a film set. You are under incredibly hot, blinding production lights, constantly repeating these demanding physical actions for multiple takes.
All while needing to maintain this flawless aesthetic appearance.
Exactly. So that Texas cheerleader and track athlete was unwittingly building the physical conditioning she'd need to survive the exhausting realities of being on-screen talent.
Which brings us to the leap. It is January 2005. She's 21 years old. She gets a phone call from her best friend, who is a working actress named Taryn Thomas.
Right.
And according to the sources, Taryn basically tells her she would be perfect for this line of work, insists she needs to come out there, and actually buys her a plane ticket to Los Angeles.
It's like jumping onto a moving train. Seriously. One day, you are working a normal shift at a bar in Texas, and seemingly the next day, you are stepping off a plane in LA, walking onto a set in a totally foreign industry, and expected to deliver an intimate performance.
Which forces us to look at what walking onto that set actually entails, right?
Right.
Because the public perception of the mature entertainment industry, especially back in the mid-2000s, was often marketed as this world of nonstop, effortless glamour.
Oh, absolutely.
But the ground-level, day-to-day work, it operates much more like a blue-collar manufacturing plant.
And the illusion of that glamour shatters pretty quickly when you look at some of the primary source footage we have.
Yeah, the Jason Serino video.
Yes. There's this fascinating, slightly chaotic behind-the-scenes video shot by this guy named Jason Serino. He visits a commercial photo shoot that Alektra is doing for an apparel brand called Badcock.
And it is incredibly mundane.
So mundane. Jason asks her what a typical day of work looks like, clearly baiting her for some wild, sensational answer.
Right, he wants a crazy story. Yeah, and she just deadpans as she wakes up and immediately goes to sit in the makeup chair.
Because the glamour is the manufactured product, and the manufacturing process itself is incredibly tedious.
Right.
But within that makeup chair discussion, she reveals this deeply sophisticated understanding of consumer psychology. She casually mentions that she uses completely different makeup artists for different types of work.
This part was wild to me.
Yeah, she specifically singles out a woman named Tamara, referring to her exclusively as her box cover girl.
I found that detail so fascinating. It's essentially like packaging a consumer good for a retail shelf versus engineering the actual product inside the box.
Exactly.
The working actress on set, doing the heavy lifting under the hot lights, that is the engine. But the box cover model, that is the showroom paint job.
It's a great way to put it.
It's like a Hollywood blockbuster's marketing campaign. The packaging requires an entirely different level of specialized polish than the actual product because in the physical DVD era, that single image had to convince a customer browsing a shelf to actually open their wallet.
She is completely compartmentalizing her brand. She recognizes that the visual asset used for marketing conversion is totally distinct from the durability required for an active performance.
Right.
But, that same Badcock apparel shoot with Jason Serino highlights the lack of glamour in another, much more uncomfortable way.
Oh, the wardrobe disagreement.
Yeah, there is this deeply awkward clash on set regarding her physical presentation.
The photographer is actively arguing with her, insisting that she wear a crew neck shirt to cover up her physical assets for this specific shoot.
Right.
Meanwhile, Jason Serino is just wandering around filming the behind the scenes, talking nonstop, and clearly making everyone in the room incredibly tense.
He's just getting in the way.
Totally. Eventually, the photographer completely snaps, tells Jason he is ruining the vibe, and kicks him out because there are just too many people in the room.
It perfectly captures the friction of the job. You are constantly managing conflicting creative directions, wardrobing disputes, the unpredictable egos of everyone on set.
That's a lot to juggle.
It is. Yet, in an interview segment of that exact same chaotic video, Alektra states very matter-of-factly that she gets to pick her on-screen partners. She says explicitly that she doesn't just work with random guys.
Wait, hold on. Let's look at the contradiction there, though.
Okay.
You're telling me she's an industry heavyweight dictating her own terms, but she's actively arguing with a mid-level photographer who is trying to force her into a crew neck shirt on a clothing shoot.
Yeah.
How much leverage did she actually have if she couldn't even control her own wardrobe on a basic commercial gig?
Well, you have to separate a mainstream apparel shoot from the core production of mature films.
Okay, fair.
On a commercial apparel set, the clothing brand is the client, right? And they dictate the visual aesthetic. But on a mature film set, where the vulnerability and the physical demands are exponentially higher, the dynamic completely shifts.
That makes sense.
In the early stages of a career in adult entertainment, new talent often lacks any real agency. You are handed a call sheet by a producer, you show up to the location, and you perform with whoever the studio has booked for that day.
You don't get a say.
Exactly. So the fact that Alektra had the established power to dictate her intimate co-stars and outright refuse random guys is a massive indicator of her internal industry leverage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she could establish strict personal boundaries and basically force the production companies to accommodate them.
So she was treating herself as a premium commodity, not just a day player. And when you look at the timeline, that leverage translated into major tangible success incredibly fast.
It really did.
We're going to dig into how she utilized that leverage to secure one of the biggest, most stabilizing contracts in the industry. But first, if you're enjoying the vibe, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends. It really helps us out.
So looking at her ascent, the speed is just remarkable.
That's crazy fast.
Less than 12 months after getting off that plane from Texas, she won the 2006 FAME Award for Favorite Rookie Starlet, which she tied with Brandy Talore.
Taking Rookie of the Year in a highly saturated market totally signals to every producer that you are a bankable asset.
Absolutely.
But she accelerated from there. By April 2008, she achieved what is arguably the most recognizable mainstream milestone available to a model in her field. She was named Penthouse Pet of the Month.
Which is huge.
And this is just an industry award. That is a pop culture institution. Put your name on newsstands globally.
It elevates an entertainer from a niche performer to a widely recognizable brand. And she used that exact moment of peak visibility, April 2008, the same month her Penthouse issue hit to execute this major strategic pivot.
Right.
She signed an exclusive performance contract with Wicked Pictures.
And I need you to break down the economics of this for me because it seems a little counterintuitive on the surface.
Okay, how so?
Well, the sources point out that she had an enormous volume of work. Some sources cite over 120 film appearances, while others cite over 500 individual scenes.
Yeah, she was busy.
Right. She is clearly a highly successful, in-demand freelancer who can book work literally whenever she wants. If you are shooting that much volume, wouldn't signing an exclusive contract with a single studio completely cap your earning ceiling? Why give up the freedom of the open market?
To understand the logic there, you have to look at the economic reality of the contract star system in the adult entertainment industry.
Okay.
The closest analogy is really the golden age of the Hollywood studio system. Think of like MGM or Warner Bros. Back in the 1940s.
Right, where they own the talent.
Exactly. When you are a freelancer, yes, your theoretical earning ceiling is uncapped, but you are constantly hustling. You are managing your own schedule, you're negotiating every single day rate, booking your own travel, and you're showing up to sets where you have absolutely no idea what the lighting, direction, or production quality will actually be.
Right, you are operating as the talent, the agent, the manager, and the logistics coordinator all at once, which has to lead to massive burnout.
Exactly. Citing an exclusive studio contract trades that exhausting hustle of the open market for corporate stability and brand equity.
That makes a lot of sense.
And Wicked Pictures wasn't just any studio. They were renowned for higher budget productions, actual narrative storylines, and a much more polished, sophisticated aesthetic.
So it was a prestige move.
Very much so. For Alektra, the contract provided a highly predictable, guaranteed income stream. But, more importantly, it gave her access to the best lighting directors, top-tier cinematographers, and honestly, the most robust marketing machinery in the business.
So it was a conscious investment in the longevity of her brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prioritizing high-quality assets over just chasing a high volume of daily checks.
Precisely. And she was very clear about her long-term intentions. Under the Wicked umbrella, she explicitly stated her goal was to become a great actress.
Wow.
Yeah, the studio system gave her the financial runway to focus entirely on her performance rather than her logistics. And the strategy paid off immensely. During her tenure there, she racked up major AVN Awards.
Which basically functioned as the Oscars of her specific media sector.
Exactly.
Yeah, the sources list some heavy-hitting accolades during this period. She won Best Group Scene for a highly produced narrative film called 2040 in 2010. She won a Fan Award for Best Body in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And she secured multiple premium nominations for her performances in titles like Babysitters, Speed, and Lust. And she maintained that exclusive relationship with Wicked until February 2013 before strategically executing a 3-month exclusive stint with another major player, Brazzers.
Right.
She clearly knew how to play the corporate chessboard.
She really did. But I think the most fascinating outcome of that studio contract is how the prestige of being a marquee name served as a launch pad for her next phase.
Oh, the crossover.
Yes. Being the face of a top-tier studio gave her the institutional backing required to do something exceptionally rare, which is breach the firewall into mainstream pop culture crossover.
This is where her career trajectory jumps from industry dominance into the global spotlight.
It's wild.
In 2010, she appears in literally one of the most culturally significant music videos of the decade. We are talking about Lady Gaga's epic video for Telephone, which of course also featured Beyoncé.
A monumental piece of pop media. I mean, it was dissected by every major cultural critic at the time.
And right there, in the middle of this massive mainstream spectacle, Alektra Blue is playing the role of an inmate in the highly stylized prison sequence.
Yep.
She is cast right alongside fellow Wicked contract star Kehlani Lay. That isn't just a fun cameo. That is a massive validation of her relevance in the broader cultural zeitgeist.
It demonstrates the power of having a corporate infrastructure behind you.
Definitely.
Like, a freelancer shooting daily scenes likely doesn't have the high-level representation required to even field a call from Lady Gaga's production team.
Right, they wouldn't even know how to reach you.
Exactly. But a top contract star at a major studio has agents, publicists, and the institutional legitimacy to make that crossover happen seamlessly.
And the mainstream exposure didn't stop with music videos either. She began appearing on traditional television networks.
Yeah.
She was featured in the documentary series Rated A for Adult and a program called Clothed Female Nude Male. She was successfully bridging the gap, forcing the mainstream public to view her not as some taboo secret, but as a working professional navigating a complex media landscape.
However, and this is crucial, she reached this pinnacle of mainstream visibility right at the exact moment the economic foundation of her home industry was starting to crack beneath her.
Oh, the digital shift.
Yeah. As she was bridging the gap to the mainstream, she was simultaneously forced to become a fierce advocate for the survival of the business model that built her.
You were referring to the Free Speech Coalition, PSA.
Yes.
According to the sources, in April 2010, which is the exact same window of time that the Lady Gaga video is cementing her mainstream status, she participates in the Free Speech Coalition's All-Star Anti-Piracy PSA.
Right.
Why is a highly successful mainstream crossing talent suddenly stepping into the tedious weeds of digital piracy legislation?
To understand why she stepped into that arena, you have to look at the macroeconomic shift happening in tech around 2010.
Okay.
The transition from physical DVDs to digital streaming was completely devastating the adult entertainment industry's middle class.
Right. Everything went online.
Prior to this, studios made millions selling physical DVDs at a very high margin. That high margin is what funded the massive production budgets and the lucrative exclusive contracts for stars like Alektra.
But then the unlicensed streaming 2 sites popped up, and almost overnight, users could stream that exact same premium content for free.
And the revenue dropped exponentially. Without those physical DVD sales, the studios couldn't afford the high-budget contracts anymore.
Wow.
Piracy wasn't just costing actors a few royalty dollars, it was an existential threat to the entire ecosystem.
Which makes total sense.
Unlicensed sites were undercutting the studios that provided the safe, regulated, high-paying environments that talent relied on. So by participating in this PSA, Alektra wasn't just acting as an actress, she was acting as a corporate advocate and an industry leader.
She recognized that if the studios couldn't protect their intellectual property, the entire prestige contract system that allowed her to thrive would just collapse.
Exactly.
It really reframes how you look at her role entirely. She wasn't just showing up to hit her marks on camera. She was defending the shared business model of her sector.
It is a brilliant example of a talent understanding the macroeconomic forces affecting their employer and actually actively stepping up to protect the infrastructure.
When you zoom out and look at this entire journey, the mechanics of her success are incredibly universal.
Very much so.
We started with an athletic girl from Texas who took a massive leap of faith, moving to LA on a friend's recommendation. From there, she navigated the unglamorous, highly chaotic day-to-day reality of commercial photo shoots and wardrobe clashes.
Yeah.
She demanded agency by strictly vetting her on-screen partners.
And she balanced the intense public scrutiny with her personal life, too, including a marriage and subsequent separation from director Pat Mine, all while maintaining strict control over her public persona.
Right. She leveraged her early awards into a powerful, stabilizing studio contract with Wicked Pictures, trading the exhausting freelance hustle for long-term brand equity. She used that institutional backing to cross over into a Lady Gaga music video, advocated for her industry's survival against the digital piracy wave, and finally, after building a massive legacy, she retired from the industry in 2016.
It's an incredible run.
If you were looking at this from a pure business perspective, the takeaway is that success requires knowing your worth, ruthlessly controlling your brand, and understanding the strategic difference between the freedom of being a freelancer and the amplified power of aligning with a major corporate entity.
The business acumen demonstrated throughout her timeline is highly applicable to almost any modern media career, honestly. But there is one final, highly provocative thought to consider regarding the long-term reality of building a brand in a digital age.
Oh, what is the lingering question here?
Well, we noted that she officially retired from the industry in 2016. However, the sources explicitly point out that as of January 2025, Alektra still maintained a highly engaged audience with 174,000 followers on Instagram.
Wait, really? 9 years after stepping away from the cameras, she is still holding an audience size that most modern influencers would literally kill for.
Exactly. In an era where the internet is forever and your past work is always just a search query away, how does an entertainer who built their entire early identity in such a highly stigmatized, visually permanent medium successfully pivot?
That's a great question.
How do you manage a highly visible digital footprint for the next 3, 4, or 5 decades of your life? The brand you build in your 20s, especially in the mature entertainment space, is a permanent asset or a permanent liability that you must learn to navigate in your 40s, 50s, and beyond.
It really makes you wonder how she is engineering that ongoing pivot and how she monetizes that attention today.
It does.
The brand management is never truly over. It just evolves. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We love unpacking the hidden mechanics of business and branding with you. Until next time, keep looking past the surface.